Good evening, this is Rachel with Infused Meadow, and today I'm making some new bread. This is a recipe that I just made yesterday, and it was so good, I thought, you know what? I will make it. Well, my husband loved it so much, he asked for it again today with dinner, so here we are. Alright, so in this cup, I have 3/4 a cup of water. And we're going to add to that 1 teaspoon of sugar. Now it's still just a little on the warm side, so that's fine. So I'm just going to grab a spoon and I'm going to stir the sugar in until I don't see any more setting in there. Now, this is my garlic knot recipe with a twist, which is why I said I'm making something a little different. So, typical bread, with the few exceptions, you're always going to use your oven. We're not going to do that today, okay? And we're not frying it either, because it's not a shortbread. Or sorry, flatbread. I will eventually make some pita and, maybe a flatbread. I know I've already done tortillas and, whenever I need to make, corn tortillas, I will make a video on that. I just haven't needed that yet. So what I'm going to do is this is 115 degrees Fahrenheit. I want this to come down to at least 112. So while this is coming down, I'm going to go ahead and pause you, and I'm going to run and grab my yeast, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my yeast, and remember, keep your yeast in the freezer. So we're at 112.3. I'm good with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my yeast, and this will be one difference in the recipe. Rather than doing 2 1/4 teaspoon, I'm going to do 3 teaspoons today. It worked out really well for yesterday's recipe, because I tinker a lot. Sometimes I shouldn't. So 1, 2, and 3. And then all we want to do is stir that yeast in. On this one, I'm going to make sure I give it a really good stir. Normally, I use my little whisk, but this time, I'm just using my spoon. Okay, so we're going to let this bloom, and remember, blooming is where you'll see it develop a foam on the top. If your yeast mixture does not develop a foam, then it's dead and you need to get some new yeast. So that means that your bread will not rise. And I know I still owe you all a quick roll recipe which does not use yeast. I promise I will get to that. If nothing else, I might make that tomorrow. That way, if you wanted to make that for your Easter, you could. And that'll give you an extra day too to be able to make it before Easter to know if you like it or not. Okay, anyway, I'm going to stop playing here. And I'm going to get my yeast up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so while my yeast is getting ready, we'll say, I'm going to go with 2 cups of flour. Now, depending on your weather, you may need a little bit more. So, just, know that. And I just sifted all this flour this morning, so I'm not worried about moving it around right now. Sorry, this is bread flour today. 100% bread flour. Now, that's what I normally use when I'm making, like, breadsticks, or, like this is going to be the breadstick. Or, well, sometimes I even use it in homemade bread, so, Now, I'm going to leave this handy just in cases, because I could need more when I get to the, my baking station in there. But anyway, so for here now, we're going to also add in 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, generally, and I say generally because, it does change depending on the recipe, but generally, you're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of salt per 1 cup. But now, if you're looking for a sweeter bread, you may, go a little light on the salt and go heavier on the sugar. But we're not making a sweet bread, so. All right, now, I want this to be garlic, so I just made this morning. We're still nice and loose. I'm going to go in with 2 teaspoons of my garlic powder. I do have a video showing you how to make your own garlic powder and onion powder, along with a lot of other spice mixes. But, those are you see me using garlic powder and onion powder a lot. Garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper, about the staples. Okay, we're going to whisk this together. Now, just so you know what's going on, we have a very nice foam. So our yeast is very much alive and happy. You can see that foam. So, beautiful. All right, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to take my olive oil, okay, and I'll meet you at the baking station. Be right back. Okay, so because I was not thinking. Well, yesterday I did this by hand, and I probably should do it by hand just to show anybody that's curious how to do it by hand, but today ain't it. I'm sorry. So, I'm using my stand mixer. I have decided it. So, I've got my flour in there, my flour mixture. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in my 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That's being a pain. I'm going to make sure I get all that olive oil out. Okay, and it is still foaming. So, lovely. And remember, keep your yeast in the freezer. That will extend its life, not indefinitely, but you would be amazed. If you buy it and let's just say it has a best by date of, I don't know, today. If you keep it in the freezer the entire time, you might find that you're able to get another year, maybe even more out of it. So, it's just a tip. All right. I'm going to start this on low. I'm not sponsored. I just really like this one, especially for anything that I do that's under 3 cups. If I do anything over 3 cups, you'll see me use my bigger stand mixer. Okay, all we want, let me see if I can show you. It's starting to come together, okay? I'm going to go ahead and turn this up to 2. And I won't go any faster than 2. So all we're looking for is for this to come together and to pull away from the sides. Once that happens, we know we don't need any more flour. Now if it doesn't pull away from the sides, you're going to need more flour. Start with a tablespoon at a time, and this will depend on your weather, how much rain you have, snow you have, moisture in the air, that kind of stuff. Now this is absolutely perfect, okay? I'm going to let this knead for about 5 to 8 minutes, okay? I'll bring you back when it's done. So this is just going to go, and we'll be back. Okay, so my timer just went off. I thought I'd bring you back before I actually remove the dough so that you could see. So we have a nice winding, and the dough is tacky, but it doesn't come off of my fingers. That's what we want. It's also nice and soft. 1 second. Beautiful. Actually meant to take that off. try to get all of that dough. I don't want to leave any behind. Okay, so the only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start. Sometimes I put this on my worktop, sometimes I don't. Now, like I said, this is a somewhat, it's what you call a tacky dough. It's very soft. But now, you know, if you just leave it setting on your hands, that dough will come off like it is on my thumb. But it's nice and smooth. Sorry. It's anyway. It is a nice smooth dough. It's very soft, and on a proper work, if you poke it, you should see your dough kind of bounce back, which means we are good. I'm going to take this. There's a little bit of dough at the bottom, literally a little. Okay, so I'm going to take that off. That shouldn't stick. It should be fine. Okay, I'm going to measure 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm just going to kind of run that around my bowl. And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to tighten this dough back up with my hands. Because I'm that weird person that just, you know, like I said, I just pull it, push it together. Pull it, push it together. Pull it, push it together. Hopefully you can see. And then I have a nice smooth ball. Sometimes I do it on my worktop. It honestly just depends on what I have going. And then all I'm doing right now is pinching this bottom to make sure that it is nice and closed. And I'm going to take it in. I'm going to put it down with its top down. Give it a spin in that oil, and then I'm going to give that bottom a nice spin to make sure that the whole thing is coated. And then I'm going to, one-handed, I'm going to set this on here, and I'm going to set this in my kitchen. My kitchen's at 73 degrees today, Fahrenheit, so we're nice and warm. And so I'll bring you back when the dough has doubled in size. This should take about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And we'll be back. Alright, so this next step that I'm going to do, you do not have to do. You can actually just cut your dough and put it straight onto your baking sheet if you want. I'm going to be doing this because, like I told you, I'm doing the bread just a little differently today. And when I make donuts or bagels, I do the exact same thing. I cut out the bread that my dough is going to be resting on. So all I've done is literally folded this over once, and then I folded it backwards and then forward. Trying to get, they don't have to be even. I'm not going to lie to you, they do not. All you need is enough room for your dough to set on. And then you're just going to flip it, do it again, and then flip it until you've got a whole sheet flipped. This dough, yesterday I made 10, so I should still get 10. And then all you're going to do is cut each one of these. Like I said, does not have to be perfect, okay? You'll see. Sorry, but you'll see when we get there. Alright. And then I'm just going to lay that like that. And I'm going to get the rest of these done. We'll be back. Just as an FYI, if you have parchment paper that does not want to cooperate, flip it the other way. And crinkle it as much as you can, and then flatten it out, and it'll stay where you want it. Alright, so I have cut out 10 pieces. Some of these are a little thicker than I actually want them, like this one, because the dough probably won't be this thick. We'll see, but that's not the point. I mean, it's more about having something to grab onto when I pull the dough. So, and I did cut about 1 inch off top. Now, you'll do this however you want. So, if you want 2 trays for this, use 2 trays. I just prefer 1. It's just easier. So, what I'm going to do is, while my dough is finishing rising, I'm going to go ahead and put this into my oven with the light on, just to try to warm this up because it's stainless steel and it's cold. We'll be back. Okay, so, it's been 45 minutes. Dough is beautiful. All I'm going to do is gently let that fall. And then I'm going to cut this in half. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, all I'm going to do right now is form these into a ball. Unfortunately, that little bit of olive oil might make this a little difficult, but hopefully not too much. Now, I may turn around and add some of one of, these smaller pieces to some of these because I only want 10. And as it is right now, I have a few more than 10. So, all you're doing is pulling and bringing to the middle. And then you just pinch, turn, pinch. And then you just roll it around and set it aside. Same thing, you can flatten it out if you'd like. Pull that in, pull it in, pull it in. And you're just, that's literally all you're doing. You're just tightening this dough up. And you can always just do that in your hand. Okay, I'm going to get these done and we'll be back. Okay, now that they're all rolled into a ball, I'm going to very gently make these into a log. I don't want them too big. They will rise. So about like that is just fine. And I'm just going to put that on a piece of my paper. Oh, wait. I'm just going with the ones that were rolled first so that, they've set at least a minute or two longer than the rest. So basically the ones you rolled into a ball first are the first ones you want to go for this little move right here. Same thing. Does not have to be perfectly on there. Okay. And remember, you're just working your hands gently from the center out. Don't go too slow because you don't want this dough to dry out. You don't want any of the dough that you're working with to dry out. And if you do have any openings in your dough for whatever reason, just make sure that you pinch those back together. Finish shaping. And then put that over here on its piece of paper. I like to take my hand and roll it back and forth from here to here just until it starts to get bigger than my hand. And at that point, I start with the center and I literally just go back and forth from the center outward is how I push. So I'm doing that. I hope that makes sense. And then slowly work your hands down so that way you're constantly pulling, from the middle outward, not from outward inward. Because if you go from the outside to the inside, you'll end up with offset dough or you could overstretch it. Right, I think you get the gist, so I'm going to try my best not to make this too long of a video. And you can do little slow motions, starting with the middle and working your way out. And if you see that your dough is becoming uneven and fatter on one side, you literally just start with that side and gently rock it back and forth, moving your hands, and the dough will work itself out. All right, I'm going to get these done. We'll be back. All right, they're done. All I'm going to do now is put a towel over them, or, my flour sack towels. They don't have dust on them anything else, unless you literally wash and dry these with your kitchen towels. And these are really good about not developing fluff or anything like that. I'm going to let these set and cover and rise for about 15 minutes. maybe 20. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna monitor them, and when I see that they're finally when they start to puff up, and I see that I have indentions all the way across this, that's when we'll be back. Now, what I will say is when you think that these are getting ready, go ahead and put yourself about an inch and a half worth of whatever oil you use. I'm using lard, and get that going into your stovetop. You want that nice melted, and we're looking for about 350 to 360 degrees Fahrenheit. We're deep frying, and they're delicious. We'll be back. Okay, so you see what I'm doing. Sorry about the movement. You can see I don't have much oil, about a little over an inch, about an inch and a half. Sorry, lard. But like I said, you use whatever you have. Does not matter. The upside to lard and tallow is that you can reuse this, and that as it solidifies, anything that falls off of your stuff will go to the bottom. So you can literally just pull it out, scrape that bottom off, and you have clean on top. Okay? And then I've got my water boiling because I'm getting ready to make dinner. Alright, so I will try to bring you as close as I can. Unfortunately, the pan is right here. And I have my pan over here for when I pull the bread. And let me back you up a little. You can see we have nicely risen dough. So I'm just waiting. I've got my thermometer here. I'm currently at 275, so we still got just a little bit. I'll bring you back. Should have also said, I've also made myself some garlic butter. I will be melting this in the microwave so that once my bread is done, I will be just running this over the bread real quick so that I have, garlicky garlic bread, if that makes any sense. Now, you don't have to do garlic bread. If you'd like onion bread, do onion. You can add your onion powder instead of your garlic powder to your flour when you start out, and then like for right now, just do some onion powder, or if you have some of the dried onions that we did on the channel, then take some of those. You can just crumble them up a little bit and add that to your butter, and that way, now the downside to the crumbles is that if you add it, heat up your butter and set it in there, they might soften a little, but they're not really going to soften enough to, you don't really want to bite into that. So if you have fresh onion, you can go ahead and dice that up and just saute that a little bit and throw that into your butter, or just do them both on the pan. And there you go. Alright, we'll be back waiting on that oil. Okay, we're at 355.6. I'm good with that. So, I'm going to show you how to do a few, and then I'll bring you back when it's all done. I apologize for the length of the video, but like I've told y'all before, I don't like to cut anything out so that you see everything I'm doing. You just gently set that in there, and then you grab that paper, which will come right off. This means less disruptions to your dough, so that you don't have to worry about, if you pick it up, you don't have to worry about deflating your dough. And when I do donuts, you'll see I do the exact same thing. Same thing. And just make sure that they do like to try to run together. Just make sure you keep them separate. I do these in twos. And then after a few minutes, you just grab them gently and you just give them a little flip. Once you see that your bubbles have slowed down. And then all you're going to do is you're going to let these cook. I'm keeping this going so that you can see roughly how long it takes. It's about 2 minutes per side, if that, about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. You're just looking for the bubbles will slow down around your dough. And that's when you know you're probably good. I like to wait until I see golden on both sides. So you can just sit with me. And that one will get flipped again so that the side can get a little bit more golden. And you heard the temperature of my dough, 355.6. Or dough, good Lord. Of my lard. And lard has a very high smoke point. And as long as you get leaf fat, you're good, because there's no flavor, you know, if you make your own or you buy it. So we're at 166, 167. Still not bad. I don't want to get over 175. So we're at 171. I'm going to turn my heat down just a little. And that's another thing. Just make sure you monitor your temperature, because you do not want to... Beautiful. You just don't want to, you know, overcook or burn your bread. Alright, so I'm going to drop another one of these in. I can let you see that. You'll see that I just continue the exact same thing all the way through. Now this one's on 2, and that's fine. I can still pull them both out. And they just release straight from that dough. You gotta be able to grab it though. Alright, I'm gonna get these done and I'll bring you back. Alright, all done. So, this only took about 10 to 12 minutes to do all of these. I was doing them in 2s. You know, it just didn't take that long. Sorry, I turned that off. So, you have a nice, soft, slightly crunchy. Not that I'm going to bite into that and it's going to, you know, hurt the roof of my mouth. And look at that. They're so good. This just might, hopefully this will become your new favorite bread. Yeah, absolutely delicious. Now, I like to add that little extra garlic, so I've already melted that. I'm going to get that on here. But, these need to cool just a little bit since I just got them done. Anyway, I hope that you make this. The recipe will be put in the description box, but I do tell you what I've done the entire time. So I really hope that you make this. This means you don't have to run your oven. The oven is a huge energy user. This is something that you can do on your stovetop, whether you have electricity or you have gas, or even if you have a wood burning stove. This will still use, you know, minus the wood burning stove, this will use less electricity than your oven will. Okay, so hopefully this will help somebody out, especially if you've got ridiculous electricity prices. I hope you make this. I hope you love it. It is absolutely delicious, and a fraction of the time. Alright, I've got to go make dinner. So again, I hope you make this. I hope you love it. And if you don't, then I hope you find a recipe that's right for you out there somewhere. And as always, you have yourself a wonderful day.